Hi, it's Mark Owen from Moose Marketing NPR, the editor of Punchline magazine, and welcome to Punchline Talks, the big interview. Today I'm with the leader of the Forest of Dean, Tim Gwilliam. Hi there, Tim. Welcome.
Hi, Mark. How are you, mate?
I'm very, very well. Thanks very much. Now, it's funny, actually. I've got to know you over the pandemic quite a little bit, but we've never actually physically met.
No.
So I am actually looking forward to that. And but I wanted to start from the very beginning. How long have you been leader of the Forest of Dean, and how did you get to be the leader?
There's a tale. I'm actually entering my 5th year as leader of the Forest of Dean District Council now. A very, very privileged position to be so. I remember the night that I became leader quite well. I was 2 days out of heart surgery, actually. I'd just come out of Bristol Royal Infirmary following some heart surgery. We had broken away from the Labour Party, 4 of us, some 6 months prior for differing reasons, all partly looking at the same fella. I was asked, please, could you come? There's going to be a motion of no confidence in the then leader, Patrick Molyneux. And it's one of those things you shouldn't miss as a councillor. These things very rarely happen. And you should be there, put your vote out and see what's going to happen. And I went under a bit of protest. Paul Hyatt, my now deputy, made me go because he's a judo champion or ex-judo champion, so I can't argue with him. And my wife was sat outside with, actually, true story, my wife was sat in the car park with an oxygen tent and the CPAP just in case I went in. During the meeting, there was the motion in Patrick and it was lost. He lost his motion. He got to stand down as leader. Labour weren't expecting to win their motion, so they had nobody to put forward. They ended up actually putting another Conservative forward who refused to stand. So then somebody said, well, somebody's got to do it. And Paul put my name forward because I was leader of us 4. And I believe at the time there was 46 councillors on site. 13 voted for me to be leader that night. That's so you can see the sort of mandate that I had. So 13, but I became leader by default.
That was, I mean, congratulations on that. Now you formed, didn't you, the 3 of you, the First Forest Independent Alliance. Is that, do you call that the TFFIA?
No, we were called Forest First initially, and then there was some connotations to that. I think they were the Independent Forest Alliance, and they were the Progressive Independents or something. You know, the basic, what we are is non-political. When I say non-political, as non-political as you can be in local government, you know, I just don't believe in voting for an emblem in local government. I think that's madness.
Because you were a member of the Labour Party for a long time. You were a Unionist as well, weren't you? Go back to that a little bit. I mean, how long have you always been interested in politics?
I've always been a socialist at heart, and I know the three members that left it. But you know, I think there's with all kinds. It's like with all politics. With socialism, you have to have a tinge of realism. And where I felt we were, and my colleagues felt we were in around that time, you know, Mr. Corbyn had just taken over, and it, you know, we had all the momentum and all that kind of stuff going. I think you can protest as much as you like, but if you're never actually ever going to be in power, you can do nothing about it. And so you have to have, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with looking after people, making sure people are all right, but alongside that, allowing somebody to make a pound. And I think it's quite a balance to take. And I felt, and I know my colleagues felt at the time, that Labour just slipped away from that somewhat.
So it's a bit of a coup, really, wasn't it? You don't see it very often especially in a place like the Forest of Dean.
No, I mean, I think the Forest has always had a rich history of independence. I mean, I don't remember, but I recall from reading a chap called Arthur Cooper that was leader of the council. I believe he would call himself Independent Labour. So it's always had that rich, you know, there's always been some independent, and now there's a fair number of independents in the council. But you know, you're right, and you know, let's be perfectly clear. It was suggested to me that I might be the shortest lived leader of a council in history at the time. Would I make the next meeting? And that's genuine.
Yeah. So what was it, if you don't mind me asking, and getting down to the nitty gritty? Did you have a triple heart bypass? And
No. To give you the longer story, I owe my brother probably my life, and my brother is no longer with us. He actually died. He was he'd had some heart issues himself, and he was in a hospital in the Birmingham area having some tests on a treadmill, one thing another like that. And after he done his tests, they said to Lloyd, "Goodness me, Mr. Gwilliam, you have a serious heart condition called cardiomyopathy, and you also have this atrial fibrillation. Your heart's out of it. We really need to get you onto some beta blockers, this, that, and the other." And Lloyd said, "Okay, we'll do that." And they gave him a prescription for the medication. Lloyd had forgotten his wallet. He'd left it in his car. So he went back to his car to get his wallet to pay for the prescription. He had a massive heart attack in his car. They found him at 5 o'clock that evening.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
But from there, it made me go and get checked, the rest of his family, and they found I had a similar condition. Lots of people a lot worse off, and they caught it in time with me. But as I said, now I've had the coup de grace on it now. They've done it really well, so it hasn't come out of rhythm since they've done it. So,
all right, well that's good news, and good news for the forest as well. So, since you've been leader, I mean, goodness gracious, you've had to deal with an awful lot. Obviously, COVID. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What was it like for COVID in the Forest of Dean, and you trying to steer the ship and keeping everybody on board?
It's one of those things. It's very much it's a two-pronged fork, because on the one side you see people struggling, you see businesses really worried, you see people worried for their health, people worried for their family, and we had all that to do. Luckily, we had a really good team in the council that were doing that, and I have to say, I think Gloucestershire as a whole came together, and I think all the councils worked so well together to make sure that people got through it as best we could. But then you had the other side, and I think the other side is probably the most important side that I'll take out of it, and that's I think somewhere 80s, 90s. You're like me, a relatively young man, Mr. Rowan. It was 80s and 90s. It was about me, and it was about what can I get, what can I do, progression, all the yuppie stuff. And I think we got back, and I think what we've got back to now is it's about us, and it's about our communities, our neighbourhoods, our districts, and our county. And I think, if there's something good that's come out of COVID, it's that. But it was a very difficult time. I mean, I lost a great deal of sleep, and I know, but I had easy compared to many. Let's
go back actually to the forest itself, because many people might not know how big the forest is. I know there's around 8,500 people that live in Cinderford. In Dursley, apparently, because I know that the other day. How many people actually are you responsible? How big is that community? And what is the budget of the council?
Oh, well, the budget, I believe, is over £4 million a year. We're one of the smallest districts. We are one of the smallest districts, and in some ways that makes things easier. But in some ways, it makes things a great deal difficult as well, because whether, the old saying, sizes and everything is also relevant when it comes to councils. And just as larger councils, borough councils, district councils, county councils have had to become more business-like over recent years, we've had to try and do it as well. And, it's somewhat easier if you've got that a bigger budget coming in. We haven't. We've had to do things a little bit on the hoof. We've had to be innovative, and I think that's what we've achieved. With the help of some partners and some friends and some good friends too, and good district councils, and I think we're getting there.
So, how many people actually live in the Forest of Dean?
I'm trying to think what the electorate was, and it's ridiculous to me that I can't remember. Is it around It's around 70,000, I believe.
Right. Okay. Now, the other thing that people forget is, or may not know, is that you have some really great business parks there and trading estates and some fantastic businesses. Obviously, I've been to all of them, delivering Punchline, Vantage Business Park, there's Cinderford, you've got the Lydney Harbour, two nice ones in Coleford. You've got the new one that Roger Head is building there as well. That the likes of Firemaking have moved into. It's exciting times, isn't there? Some great businesses there.
Yeah, and again, you don't like to use COVID or anything as it's not quite there yet enough to use it as a positive. But as I said, things do come out of these out of catastrophe comes opportunity. And I think the Forest of Dean has been in a position to actually grab that. Because what people have said now is they want a different way of life when it comes to business. They don't necessarily want to be trudging into the office 9 to 5 every day. They don't necessarily want to be working in the city. They've got used to working from home sometimes. They've got used to having a way of life. And you know what? I think our semi-rural or rural districts, I think we can take advantage of that. You know, let's be honest, if you can get your business delivered here in the forest, where better place is there to live? You know, you have a hard day's work, where better place to relax of an evening, the weekend, whatever. We see them coming down from, and very welcome they are too, from Gloucester and Cheltenham on the weekends and the evenings. You can live here now and you can still carry out your business. You can actually get businesses to thrive and entrepreneurs to start new businesses now down in the forest. And there's opportunity. We've got the Growth Hub started down in Mitchell Dean now. That's going to be massive. If we can hopefully secure that levelling up fund, which we may go on to later for the 5 acres in Sinford's area, again, new businesses, keeping our entrepreneurs, our really skilled young people here in the forest and letting them think that they have a future here and they don't have to go to Gloucester, Cheltenham, even further afield, Bristol. And I've got nothing against Gloucester, Cheltenham. It's our towns and it's part of Gloucestershire. But I don't want to see all our young people go up there and open their businesses up there.
Now you've led to it. Let's talk about the Levelling Up Fund and what is it and the Great Western Gateway. Do you want to tell us about that, please?
Well, the Levelling Up Fund is obviously it's the big thing for the government at the moment. We were listed as a #1 category district to be able to apply for such funds. Now, not every district because it was quite a short time scale that you had to get a bid involved in. But we've teamed up with some really good partners. We've got good people behind us, and we put a bid in for £20 million to redevelop the 5 acre site, Sinford Town Centre, and also a redevelopment up at Hartbury University and College.
Sorry, can I just stop you there? Where is the 5 acre site for people that might not know?
The 5 acre site is rather controversial, and I'll say that, you know, openly. Former college site and leisure centre. It used to be what was at one time 5 Acres Grammar School, for those that could remember it many years ago. It was taken over by what was then Homes and Communities Agency, I think probably around 2013, to enable the college relocation to the Sinford Northern Quarter. And the college is doing wonderful things over there now. That's great. But what it did leave, of course, was a bit of a void on a key site in our district, and also left us with no option but to close a leisure centre, which was never something that we wanted to do. But we've managed to negotiate with Homes England, as they're now called. That sale's going through as we speak. It might even have just been signed and sealed and delivered. So no matter what now, whether we get the Levelling Up Fund or whether we don't, we're going to redevelop that site along lines of community aspiration. We'll do something with sport, education and business on that site.
Yeah, because it is very run down. I mean, I must admit, I tell you what, Cinderford, I really like Cinderford. I spent a lot of time there, and there are elements of it, and I hope they don't take it this wrong way, or maybe the right way, but it reminds me very much of Merthyr Tydfil. You know, the people very, very friendly.
It's that classic cobble town, isn't it? And it was reliant on that, and it was reliant on an industry that's no longer there.
That's right. And now with the new college and people, I've been fortunate enough to go to the new colleges. I mean, it's a fantastic building, designed by Roberts, built by Barnwood Construction and designed by our chaps here, isn't it? Joe Roberts Limbrick.
It's a fantastic building. Yeah, it really is. But I think you'd have seen as well that the town council's plans for the redevelopment of the actual Sinderford Centre, and I think that they're really positive. We've got to change our way in the forest. Another opportunity we have in our way in the forest are everybody's town centres are struggling. It's not just us; it's everybody's. And people put it down to car parking. It's not car parking or anything like that. That's just doing it. I mean, it's not one thing. It's the general way of things. So it's online shopping. It's whatever it is. But we're the Forest of Dean. And what we can do is we can make our town centres almost experiences. And that's what we need to do. Luckily, I think the town centre, the town councils, they get that. Certainly my local town council of Coleford, they're really active. They want to make shopping almost an experience for people. So they come into Coleford, not only can they go and buy some really good quality merchandise or food and drink, they can actually enjoy the town centre. I think that's what we get. That's what we need. And it's not like turning it into a Blackpool. It's turning it into something. You must have been on many an exotic holiday. You go to Cyprus or Greece or there, and they close in the afternoon and sleep for 4 hours, which is perhaps something we shouldn't do. But what they do in the evening, they open their shops, people go out and they just enjoy that shopping experience. We have a chance to do that here in the Forest of Dean, maybe only for a few months of the year, but let's try and do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it just needs a bit of a sea change, really. I can say one thing for the Forest of Dean. It's got the best fish and chip shops in Coleford, Newent, Lydney, and whether you count yourself, whether you like it or not, is probably not. But the Ross and Y is pretty brilliant as well. Because I sample all the fish and chips, by the way.
We claim Ross on Y if there's ever anything good that comes out of it. That's what it is. So it's a bit like Monmouth. We'll claim that sometimes as well, just occasionally.
You can try and take it over there as well if you like to, mate.
Maybe, yeah.
Expanding. Now, Lydney Harbour is an exciting venture as well. Do you want to explain what's going on there?
Yeah, Lydney Harbour. I almost tired of the times I heard about prospective Lydney Harbour development. It seemed to be going on since I was a kid. And one of the things we did when I took over, my former deputy, he's with us, but he's no longer in the council, Roger James, was really keen on pushing this through. And one thing we noticed in the council is not criticism of anybody, because I don't want to get into that in this interview. When you've got such regeneration opportunities as we have here in the Forest of Dean, we didn't have the clout to do it at the council, and that's why we failed. It wasn't for a lack of effort by the people involved. We just didn't have the clout. So what we did when we first stepped in was we manned up and we put some more resource into that, and I think we're starting now to really see the benefits of that. And the team have been working so well with Lydney and so well on that Lydney Harbour. Cafe is going to be open, I think, this month, maybe. Would have been open a little bit sooner if it hadn't been for the Environment Agency, but I'm allowed to say that because it's between friends. But yeah, the cafe is going to be open. We got some big plans. We're going to sort the road out. Richard Cook, of course, who you'll also know, he's got some fantastic plans for the area down there. And if they come off, this really could be a sea change. Really could be.
That's not Richard Cook, the leader of the Gloucester City Council, by the way.
It isn't. No, it's another Richard Cook. Yeah, although Richard Cook, the leader of Gloucester City Council, is a very nice chap as well. He's not going to do the business in Lydney that this other Mr. Cook is doing.
Yeah, so inside smokery, isn't he?
Yeah, Lydney Harbour and all that area there, that's got potential, and we need to keep on that. And I hope, some years' time, I may not be the leader of the council, believe it or not. Whoever is leading it needs to continue that process as well, because that's got huge potential for the entire county and possibly region, I would say.
I think the part that you played is very important. The fact that it is independent is important, but also you're there to be leader till 2023.
Yeah.
Will you be standing again, Tim? Is that too early to say? I'd like to give it another blast. Make sure that this.
Well, we haven't finished yet. Yeah, we haven't finished yet. That's for sure. And it's very
business needs continuity. That's why.
Yeah, I've never had a majority in the council. I've never had, I've never been in a group that's the majority of the council in the old time I've been leader. I've been leader, I think, as my fellow councillors, no matter what badge they wear, as a rule, think we're doing a decent job and think we're doing it the right way. Once the election starts off, that'll all change. All the nastiness will come back and we'll start throwing pies at each other again. But yeah, I haven't given up yet. Yeah, I thought about it, but no, I think we've got lots to do. And the forest needs its voice. And I'm not going to let it lose it. Now,
on a personal level, where are you from? Is your Berry Hill? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm a Berry Hill boy. Yeah, I now have to live just outside, unfortunately, but it is literally 150 yards outside. But yeah, I'm still a Berry Hill boy. Yeah.
Okay, so is that where you went to school? And what
Yeah,
was
I went to Burial Primary. Yeah, my dad. Okay, another tale here. I was the youngest of 5 kids. My dad was a free miner, which he was a free miner with his 2 brothers. Their last mine was in Christchurch, which is just a little bit up from Berry Hill. Dad had to pack that in around 1970 because my mum had to America to go and die at a very young age, 36. Now I was 14 months old or something, so I was a baby in ours. We moved into a council house from our cottage in Joyford. We moved into Covern Road in Berry Hill, and that Dad stayed there till he died in 2012, and it was where I left to come and get married. But yeah, I went to Burial Primary School, then to Burial Secondary School. I did pass for the grammar school, but Dad, you remember, you used to get a slip. You used to get a slip, and it said you had to get consent to go to the grammar school, or if you wanted to stay. I passed the 11 plus, but Dad had put on the slip, grammar school if good enough, but has brothers and sisters at secondary school. And for Dad, it was a bit of a big thing with the old uniform. And Dad could see that I could maybe step into my brother's shoes, literally, and uniform and things like that, rather than popping into Raymond's to get me some new grammar school stuff. So without trying, he kind of, sent me on that path. But I was the last ever head boy of Burial Secondary School, which is something I'll always treasure. And I met some fantastic people there, brilliant teachers, some of which I'm really pleased to say I'm still in touch with now. And I wouldn't have changed anything, actually, Mark.
So before you got to politics, what did you do? So you came out of school. Did you go into mining, or did you go into uni?
No. I'm far too cowardly for such a thing as that, mate. That's a proper job. That is. No, I went to college. I got a BTEC, a national diploma in business studies, and then I worked at Forwood in. I was a time and motion man at Forwood in Coleford for a period of time. Before I saw a job in the press that was working as an operator inspector in Temco in Cinderford, which is still there.
Yep.
And I've spent 20 years working. I worked at Temco for 20 years.
Wow. Okay.
Before my spine gave way, and I had to have 3 operations on my back, and I couldn't lift stuff anymore.
Because you were quite a keen sports guy as well.
Sorry?
You're quite a keen sports guy as well. Sorry to stop.
Yeah, I used to play a lot of cricket and a lot of football and rugby. Cricket was really my sport, but that kind of packed me up, really. I was very fortunate enough to play a bit of representational cricket on the Wales side and things like that. I was never quite as good as I thought I was. I know people say they're never good as they could have been. I was never quite as good as I thought I was. And it was the same with the rugby. And I really wish I'd been better at rugby to wear the black and amber of Bury or more, but I wasn't. Simply wasn't. But once I had to leave Temco, and I just had to get into something else. And what I got into was housing, caring for people in their own homes, that kind of stuff, support work. And I guess that would have been 2000. When did Liverpool win the Champions League? 2005.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then that's what really got me started to be interested in how people are treated, the political world of things, and all that kind of stuff.
And of course, there had been New Labour then as well. Isn't that right? New Labour, old.
Blair had been 1997, and so we were probably entering the brain years then. But yeah, it was for me more about. People were just starting to get a bit of a rough deal, I felt, and I think they people deserve something better. And I think that was exacerbated, of course, around 2010, 2011, when we had that thing that was called a coalition, austerity and all that nonsense. And now that really affected people. And that really affected people in the forest. We haven't seen what COVID's going to do yet. We haven't seen what furlough's going to do. We haven't really seen that yet in the forest. I would say austerity was a pretty low point for the country. To treat people the way they did in 2010, 29, just to satisfy bank balances, I find that almost offensive. But that's just my politics.
Yeah. We won't get into nitty-gritty of politics, but we are kind of unfortunately running out of time already. So I want to go to the personal question. So Tim, what's the last book that you've read? Whether it be fiction, whether it be
It was Phil Tuftel's autobiography.
Okay.
Yeah.
Phil Tufton's autobiography. Okay, and what is the last CD that you've either downloaded or bought as well? So what kind of music do you like?
That is a chap called The Weekend.
The
I don't know.
Weekend.
Yeah, The Weekend. I urge anybody to go. He's got that 80s funk about him. He always wearing that, and he wears suits. And I think anybody that's wearing a suit that can sing a song is fine by me.
Well, there you go. I'm wearing a waistcoat, especially, mate. Okay, last questions then, please. Can I have your top 3 business tips as we're wrapping up?
You can, yes. It will be know your community and be part of your community if you can help it. Be innovative. Be free thinking. And also, don't be afraid to come and talk to your local council, because we might just be able to help.
Tim Gwilliam, leader of the Forest of Dean, thanks very much for joining Punchline Talks today. Nice to see you again, Tim.
Thanks, Mark. Good to speak to you.